Forget everything you've highlighted in your school textbooks. Erase the dates, the maps, and those comforting certainties your professors repeated for years like they were prayers. Because today, fellow travelers, we aren't just exploring a location. We are stepping into a minefield that could blow up the entire chronology of human civilization. You know the history of writing, right? The Sumerians, Mesopotamia, 3000 BC. Well, take that chapter and get ready to rip it out. Because in the heart of France, in a field that no one was ever supposed to dig up, the earth spat out something that shouldn't exist. Something that speaks a very inconvenient truth. Our barbarian ancestors were writing when, according to official science, they should have barely known how to light a fire. We are in Glozel, 1924, a name that has become a curse word for traditional archaeology. Guys, imagine the scene. A young farmer, Émile Fradin, is working the land. He's not an academic, he has no degrees on his wall, just mud-stained hands and an ox that suddenly plunges into a hole. When he digs to pull it out, he doesn't just find stones. He finds a portal to a history that has been denied to us. Thousands of artifacts, clay tablets engraved with a mysterious alphabet, vases with human faces that seem to watch you from the depths of millennia, and prehistoric animal bones worked with surgical precision. But here is where things get heated, and I want you to pay close attention. Among those remains were reindeer bones. You might say, so what? Well, fellow travelers, reindeer in that part of France went extinct about 10,000 years ago. If you find a reindeer bone engraved with an advanced alphabet, you only have two options. Either someone traveled through time, or the story they tell us is a colossal lie built to balance the books of the barons of archaeology. Why should people care about Glozel? Because this isn't just a pile of old potsherds. This is proof that a forbidden history exists. It's the moment you realize the line between science and dogma is thin as a hair. The experts of the time, as soon as they saw these things, didn't say, wow, let's study them. They said, impossible, therefore it's a fake. Without even touching them, without analysis, simply because Glozel didn't fit their mental maps. They tried to destroy Émile. They dragged him to court. They mocked his family. But the earth doesn't lie, folks. The earth has no careers to protect or books to sell. In this video, I'm not asking you to believe me blindly. I'm asking you to look at the evidence. I'm going to tell you how modern physics, years later, slapped the faces of those scientists who were screaming conspiracy. If Glozel is real, and the tests say it is, then we live in a world where Europe was the center of thought millennia before they ever allowed us to suspect. Are you ready to question every single line of your history books? Buckle up, because the journey to Glozel has just begun, and I guarantee that by the end of this video, you will look at the past with completely different eyes. We are now in the heart of the chaos, fellow travelers. Because if you think finding thousands of ancient tablets was the hard part, you haven't seen what the system is capable of when someone dares to shake the table of its certainties. As soon as the news of Émile Fradin's discovery began to circulate, it wasn't just the curious who arrived. The predators of science arrived. On one side, we had giants like Salomon Reinach, director of the National Museum of Antiquities, who hailed it as a miracle. On the other, the Pope of archaeology at the time, René Dussault. And guys, get comfortable, because this is where it gets personal. Dussault never went to Glozel. He never touched a single artifact. It was enough for him to look at a few photos to deliver his verdict. Fake. It's all a forgery created by an ignorant farmer to scam tourists. Think about the level of arrogance here, guys. A man sitting in an armchair in Paris decides the fate of world history based on prejudice. Because to him, a farmer from the Vichy area couldn't have found the missing link of civilization. And yet, the tablets kept coming out of the ground, by the thousands, engraved with a script that looked like a mix of Phoenician, Etruscan, and something never seen before. And here is the part that will make your blood boil. The French police raided the Fradin farm. You heard that right? The gendarmerie treated an archaeological find like a drug den. They seized everything, destroyed part of the excavations, and brought Emile before a judge on charges of fraud. But here's the twist the detractors didn't see coming. The judge ordered a technical report. If it was a fake, Emile had to have made it. But how? To engrave thousands of tablets in that way, without the fresh clay showing signs of modern tools, required chemical and linguistic knowledge the boy didn't have. And above all, fellow travelers, it required time. Years of secret work that no one in the family had ever seen. The result? Emile was acquitted. The scammer didn't exist. But the artifacts, those were damn real. Let's go back to the burning point I mentioned earlier, the one that drives historians crazy, the anachronisms. In that field, guys, they found engravings of animals that shouldn't have been there. Imagine finding a drawing of a mammoth in a post office today. Makes no sense, right? At Glozel, there were reindeer, solar symbols, and giant human footprints on clay tablets. The academics said, it's an impossible mixture. It can't all be from the same era. And they were right. But instead of trying to understand why that place was a crossroads of different times, they preferred to label the whole site as trash. They tried to bury Glozel under the mud of infamy to protect their university manuals. Because if Glozel had been accepted, entire archaeology departments would have had to close and admit, sorry, we haven't understood anything about the last 5,000 years. But truth has a habit of not staying buried for long. In the 70s, someone decided to stop with the opinions and let physics do the talking. And what came out of the labs left the scientific world in a deathly silence. We've reached the final showdown, guys. If until now we've talked about clashes between men, now let's let the laboratories speak. Because if there's one thing that doesn't have an opinion, it's matter. For decades they tried to cover up Glozel, but in 1974, science decided to stop listening to the barons of Paris and interrogate the atoms directly. Thermoluminescence enters the field, and it was no small thing. We aren't talking about a test done in a basement, but an international scientific mobilization. CERN in Geneva, the Oxford Laboratory, and the Roskilde Nuclear Research Centre in Denmark analysed those artifacts. You want the data? Here it is. Thermoluminescence measures the last time a clay object was fired. The results were an earthquake. The artifacts date back to a period between 700 BC and 100 AD. But they didn't stop there. They used carbon-14 dating on the bones found at the site. The result? Some animal bones dated back to a period between 15,000 and 17,000 BC, while others were much more recent. Guys, do you realize the scale of this madness? We have medieval, Celtic, and prehistoric objects all in the same layer. If it had been a fake made by a farmer in 1924, thermoluminescence would have exposed it in a second. A modern object doesn't emit the light of prehistory. And for those still screaming hoax, there's the definitive proof: electron microscopy. Examining the engravings on the tablets, researchers found the patina of time. When you engrave stone or clay thousands of years ago, microcrystallizations are created that are technically impossible to reproduce artificially in a modern lab. let alone in a farmer's kitchen in the 1920s. So, fellow travelers, let's look the reality in the face that textbooks want to ignore. Science says they are ancient. History says they are impossible. We are facing what experts call OOP arts, out-of-place artifacts. Glozel is not a scam. It's a glitch in the system. Perhaps a secret library where a lost civilization tried to pass down antediluvian knowledge. Or perhaps the sign that writing wasn't born where we were told, but appeared much earlier, right here, under our feet in Europe. The truth is that Glozel is the ultimate glitch in our timeline. They tried to ridicule Émile Fradin for a century, but in the end, neutrons and crystals proved him right. Official history is a house of cards, and Glozel is the breath that is making it collapse. And you, are you ready to accept that everything you know about the past might just be a comforting fairy tale? Science has spoken. Now it's up to you to decide whether to keep sleeping or wake up. If you know more or have theories, let us know in the comments. We read them all. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe for more mysteries like this one.